there's kind of anecdotal evidence out there people put online that when they started getting higher ketones, the bugs stopped biting them. Did you notice that at all? Or
No, well, we normally don't have a lot of mosquitoes. It's only because we've gotten so much rain. So there's a lot of rain, like retention holders, people's backyards. You know, I mean, you're back east, so that's how it was when I was home in Boston. And yeah, so the water's sitting there. They're building the mosquitoes, but I mean, my ketones are 1.0 today, so I don't know. They bit me yesterday. Maybe they weren't as high yesterday.
maybe they're ketone loving mosquitoes from that from that.
Yeah, they're like, ooh, I love this carnivore rich blood and ketone rich blood.
Yes, yes. So let's shift a little bit. Tell us about your coaching. What do? You help mostly women?
Yeah, so my niche is with women. I am being trained through Mark Sisson's program, Primal Health Institute, because like you said, I don't think everybody needs to be strict keto or strict carnivore. I help my aunt she is very metabolically healthy, but we do have a history of Alzheimer's in our family. So she wants to be careful on that aspect. So I said, yeah, you can still have a higher carb, not higher carb standard diet, but like under 100. She's very athletic and everything. I'm like, you're good. So I guide her and let her know what kind of things to do. Just adding those healthy fats was all she needed. But I help other women, primarily insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, PCOS, and yeah, letting them know their carb tolerance and things like that. So I'm still working through the program with Primal Health, but I'm helping some other people on the side in the meantime because I'm self-educated through 3 years of stuff. So
look, I think a coach like yourself is far more valuable than someone who just gets the education and has no experiential part to their story. Like part of what the harm of you is, you went through the rigmarole of all the medical everything with your epilepsy and you've come out the other side of it, self-taught, but now being formally taught. I feel like people like yourself is who connects with people a lot more. I love your link tree, Mommin on ketone, Mommin on ketone.
Yes, and our whole family eats this way. So I'm carnivore currently. My husband's like carnivore-ish. He still has his veggies here and there. Yep, that's me. I do have a 4-year-old son that will be 5 in a couple weeks. And he is officially diagnosed on the spectrum. So we do incorporate some things with him. He happens to be allergic to wheat anyways, which I'm like, all right, that works out. We're not having it in the house anyways. But he'll have his fruits. He doesn't like veggies. He loves his meats, his dairies. We'll throw some extra coconut oil, MCT, to help boost those ketones for him. I do take care of my mom who lives here. This is interesting, Jimmy. I don't know if you've heard this. So my mom has retinitis pigmentosa with her eyesight, which is tunnel vision. She also has glaucoma and then lost most of her eyesight.
Wow.
Since she moved here with us, she just eats the way we eat. Okay, good. Her eye pressure, when she got it checked shortly after, was the best it's ever been since diagnosed in 1995.
Whoa.
While eating ketogenic. And it's just, she was so excited. And 3 years still, she reversed her fatty liver, her fibromyalgia, lots of the stories you've heard plenty of times. But the eyesight was an interesting one for me.
Yeah, and I've heard anecdotally other people talk about when they went keto, having progressively worse and worse and worse vision, different issues. And then they go keto, and then suddenly it goes the other direction. Like you had to get glasses for worse in the past, and now it's like you had to get glasses to go better again.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. It's working too well. I have to go the other direction to buy glasses.
No, exactly. So yeah, it's been a blessing for her too. She's still, unfortunately, the sight is completely gone out of one eye, but the other, she still has a little bit. So keeping that pressure in a good range.
So Jen, how do we communicate with the world more about nutrition and its powerful effects? Because you've seen it yourself in your epilepsy control. You said your husband overcame colitis in 5 weeks. You've got a kid that's autistic and you're feeding ketogenic, trying to get the ketones in there. You've got the moms have the eyesight. Like it seems like it's so powerful, and your family is just the spitting image epitome of what could happen to society if we embrace this more. What do you think we could do besides what I'm doing out here, blah, 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 all the time, writing books and doing all I can to do my part? It's like,
yes.
What more can we do?
You know, that's a hard one. I feel like just being a witness and people seeing the stories, making the stories, like I'm privileged to be on your story to help, or your program to help share the story. I feel like non-pressuring is a big thing. Some people feel pressured, meeting people where they're at. You know, some people, the way that I work with people is a step-by-step thing. So I don't say, okay, you have to jump in all at once. I'm like, okay, let's figure out the first thing you can get rid of. Vegetable oils. First thing. That might be too hard. Okay, let's get rid of sugar first. And a step-by-step thing. Letting people know that there is a way to do it. And just, seeing all the evidence. And now with all the hokey pokey stuff and all that stuff going on, FDA approving it, and we're starting to see more and more certain things in the medical field that is harder to trust. So it's easier to trust people like their stories, what's going on. But we are all unique. We're all diverse. Yes. So that's why I say meeting people where they're at, just educating.
Well, and what's funny is people are like, how can you be so skeptical of the science? I'm like, I've been skeptical of the science for 17 years.
Yeah.
I got in this gig. It was like FDA's lying to us about our health, and USDA dietary guidelines is bunk. And so it's like, everybody, how can you be so skeptical? I'm like, how could I not be with what I've seen? And now what we're seeing now is just kind of speeding up that process of people going, like, what do we do with this now? So it is fascinating. And you're right. I do think what has transpired over the past couple of years is making people think twice now about, maybe I should take this nutrition thing a little more seriously.
Yeah, and well, it's just ancestral. When you keep learning about the ancestral aspect about all this, it's like our ancestors weren't eating Pop-Tarts, weren't eating cereal for breakfast. They weren't eating all that. It was the meat and the fat, and once in a while some berries that the fruit doesn't even look the same anymore. You know, it's like, it's learning history of nutrition, really. And that's what's fully convinced me. That's why I know on carnivore I'll be fine. You know,
So why aren't we teaching that in the schools, by the way, where there's history of nutrition? Here's what an apple used to look like. Here's what a watermelon used to look like. Here's how they went and hunted for the foods, and they ate the whole part of the animal, and here's all the parts of the animal. How amazing would that be if they're teaching that in school? But no, I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, we had to memorize the food pyramid. We had to, like, how many greens a day did you need? And it's like, none of that gets taught. None of the good history of nutrition ever gets taught. How cool would it be if we could turn that around? Oh,
that would be amazing. It would. The problem is, though, Jimmy, then the pharmaceutical industry is screwed, as well as the medical industry. Well, so God forbid we teach real nutrition.
Well, and there it is. Big food, big pharma. There's just too many special interests at play. And this is part of when I talk to people, trying to educate them outside of the podcast world, look, do you realize there's special interests that want to keep you sick, that want to keep you fat, and they keep selling you foods that make you fat and sick so they can sell you drugs that make you somewhat better but not all the way better. But then you go on a diet and they sell you those things with the big food. But then the same companies that make the junk food make the diet food, and it's like this all over the place. Kind of tie it all together for people. They go, holy crap.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Exactly. And I'll admit, the first 2 years, my husband and I, there would be many times where we would think, are we doing something wrong? Are we going to get a heart attack? You know, what's going to happen? But we just kept feeling better. And that's the thing people need to learn is my keto is different from Jimmy's keto. Like my husband's keto is different from mine, my son's, everybody's is different. It's part of the biohacking and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. And that's what I do with the coaching is we meet up together virtually most of the time because, you know, it's easier nowadays. And just talking them through, okay, how did you feel? How has this week been working for you? How did you feel after eating this food? Even bringing in, I love what you're doing now with the mental health, Jimmy, because it really is a factor. Like for me, I wanted to lose weight also to be healthy, but I have had similar childhood traumatic situations such as yours, and learning, sorry, my dog, and figuring that part out of what role does that play in the health of the weight plateau, of the cortisol spikes and all that stuff. So that is a part that I'm working on as well now. I've resolved most of it, but it's peeling an onion. There's layers. And so, yeah.
And the more you peel, the more you find, and you're just like, oh, another one? What?
I know. I know. It's a struggle.
But
but it's good.
I think the name of the game, though, is just staying in the game. And I'm about to embark on this journey where I'm going 100 days in a row of doing all kinds of really interesting biohacks. I'll be sharing more soon, but it's incredible how many people give up because they feel like they've done everything. They feel like they're not getting any good positive feedback for the good things that they have done. And so therefore they're like, well, I'm not going to get any credit for what I have tried to do. Why should I try at all? So encourage that person that thinks that way. How do you talk to clients like that?
That's a good question. I actually just had a client recently that's what happened. I think the bottom line is pretty much a lot of times there's an unhealthy attachment, and we have to get to the behavior aspect and the addiction aspect. What are you feeling when you want to go for that bread? Because she really wants that bread right now. What are you feeling? What's driving you? Is it true hunger? Or is it, I feel peer pressure because I'm at a party? Or is it just, just to evaluate those emotions when that temptation's coming? That's pretty much the root of, I'd say, 90% of people.
You tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.
Look, I can admit from firsthand experience, like when you have done lots of things to put yourself in a good position and things aren't moving, weight, health markers, whatever you're measuring, there's a frustration level that comes in right here that it's hard to psych yourself out those things that you think have failed. Now, maybe there's things you need to tweak and move, but maybe not. Maybe what you're doing is the right thing. It's just taking more time for the body to heal. So getting people to reconcile that there is a timeline and it's not linear to anything. Like for some people, there's so much damage done. It could take years for them to get to the point that they're wanting in their head, or you may not ever get to that idealization of what you're thinking in your head as well. And how do you convince those people of what you're doing is saving your life, because but for what you're doing, you would probably be dead.
Exactly. Right. Actually, my husband talks about that. Like, he was a big salty snack chip eater, the chocolate bars, Milky Ways, all that stuff. And we joke, but not joke. Like, he was probably really close to getting a heart attack at some point. If he didn't switch this way, who knows what his blood markers were before. He didn't really go to the doctor much except for the colitis. So, I mean, his markers are great now as well. And we just say, like, what if we didn't change? Where would I be at? Would I have ended up having a seizure driving?
Yeah.
What would the medication have caused my liver to be completely screwed up? The hard part for me is when there's people I know that will benefit from this, but they're just too stuck in their ways, or they're scared or whatever. And we just have to wait till they're ready. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink.
Well, and a lot of them are very trusting in what their doctors say. And if it doesn't say it, then they just don't believe it. And, I'm even hearkening to my own brother, Kevin, which yesterday would have been his birthday, would have been his fourth birthday. He died in 2008 at the age of 41 from heart disease, morbid obesity, diabetes, all the rest.